Satanarchaeolidealcohellish notion potion.
Hellish.
Oh, with an H.
Hellish.
Satanarchaeolidealcohellish notion potion.
Keep practicing. By next week, you'll get it.
I will not.
Hello and welcome to Book Retorts. I'm Sam.
I'm Danielle.
And this is the podcast about sharing your weird media finds with your friends who really don't know what you're talking about.
And I really don't know what you're talking about. What are you talking about today, Sam?
Gosh, if I only knew. Boy, today is something special because neither of us know what I'm talking about. No, of course, I know what I'm talking about. But that would be a weird episode. So what I have for you today, Danielle, is a book by author Michael Ende.
Okay.
Now, if you don't know Michael Ende, you do know Michael Ende. He was the author of The Neverending Story.
Oh, of course. I've read The Neverending Story.
I have too. It's one of my favorite books, but I'm not doing that book. Today, I'll be doing part one of The Night of Wishes, another one of his books.
Okay, I've never heard of that book. I'm not even sure I knew that he wrote other books.
He wrote a lot of other books, Danielle. He was fairly prolific. Yeah, I figured you probably didn't know about it. So anyway, The Night of Wishes was written in 1989 and translated to English in 1992 because Ende was German. And I've always found it amusing that a man named Michael Ende wrote The Neverending Story, but that really only works in English wordplay. Which is relevant because The Night of Wishes is a book that is full of wordplay, puns, and weird, I don't know what you say, turns of phrases and portmanteaus. And I gotta give the translators credit. I mean, they tried their best to do that, but translating wordplay is hard.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that since it was from
So
German.
sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't really work. And we'll see how this goes. So that's The Night of Wishes by Michael Ende.
Perfect.
Also, it inspired an animated series in 1999 that ran for 56 episodes.
Wow.
Apparently.
I can't believe I never heard of this thing.
I never knew it made that cartoon. And the cartoon, from the brief YouTube clip I watched, is not at all like the book, but has a kick-ass theme song. So I highly recommend looking that up. It's called Wunsch Punch, or maybe Wunsch Punch, which is the German for potion, or brew, I suppose. Mm-hmm. And that is relevant because that's a subtitle of this book, which I will not introduce yet because it's very hard to say.
Okay.
All right, that's enough of that. So let's just get to the description there.
Okay, let's do this. The sorcerer Beelzebub Preposteror.
Preposteror.
Preposteror. Are you sure?
It's preposterous. Preposteror.
Beelzebub Preposteror. That makes more sense.
There you go. Yeah, gosh, Danielle. Thankfully, you didn't read this book because it's full of wordplay like that.
So I don't know. That's not how my spelling brain went. The sorcerer Beelzebub Preposteror and his witchy
Good start. Try again. Nope. Back to one. We're doing this again.
The sorcerer Beelzebub Preposteror and his witchy...
Preposteror. There's an R at the end there. Try again. We're going to be here all day until you get this right.
Preposteror. Why? How come? How do you know the R is said at the end?
Why would it be? Why would it be there if it wasn't?
Right? Preposteror?
Yeah, Preposteror.
Okay. The sorcerer Beelzebub Preposteror and his witchy aunt must complete their annual quota of evil deeds before midnight, but a small cat and a raven are waiting to foil their plans and save the world. I'm going to assume the small cat and raven aren't just small cat and raven.
You're wrong.
Are they just like a normal small cat and a raven?
Yes.
Like everybody's cat and a raven?
Yes. What's so hard to understand? They're a cat and a raven, Danielle.
Can they talk? I mean, do they like...
Yes. But
okay,
they talk in the sense that...
No,
they talk in the sense that, like, in this universe, all animals talk, just sorcerers can understand them and humans can't.
Well, then they're not really, like, normal. When I said normal, I meant, like, everyday, like, we see cats and ravens.
I mean, they're normal in the sense that they are considered the normal animal. Like, they're not, like, magic or anything.
Okay. Sure.
They're just a cat and a raven who in this book can be understood by both the audience reading it and the evil wizard.
Okay.
Sorcerer.
Beelzebub Preposteror.
Preposteror. There you go.
Okay, that is really hard, everybody. Like,
you think that's hard? I have a word in here that I'm going to see if I can find that word and make you say it later.
I feel like everybody should go read our show notes, and this will be in there, and you see how easy it is to say.
His name is probably the easiest of the names.
That's unfortunate.
All right. So just a brief note before I get started on this. This is a children's book. Obviously, it's, middle grade fiction. It's very silly and fun, and I get that. But I'm just going to ignore all of the fun goofiness and take this very seriously and sort of pick apart the characters and their plans in my pedantic sort of way, because that's what we do here. So you don't need to tell me that it's just a fun book and it's just goofy. I don't need to worry about character motivations. I know that, but we're not here for that. We're here for the analysis that doesn't need to be done.
This is book retorts.
Exactly. So I get that out of the way, because I don't want people to think I'm like a thief of joy trying to take all the life and happiness and wonder out of a children's book that is very fun.
That's Sam, everybody, the thief of joy.
Oh, please. No, I don't need that. I have too many titles as it is.
This is the one that's going to stick, though. I'm using it.
Okay, great. Good luck. All right, so we open on a dark and stormy night. At the head of every chapter, there's a little illustration of a clock, and it starts out at like 5 o'clock-ish. And I remember as a kid being like, oh, that's really cool. The whole book is just one night. It goes from 5 o'clock until midnight. That was a really neat little trick when I first read this, and I wasn't really familiar with the concept of real-time movies or books that take place over a very small amount of time. So I thought that was fun.
No, that's kind of neat.
Yeah. And so then every chapter shows you like how much time has advanced. I won't be reading all the clocks because frankly, it doesn't matter in terms of my retelling of it, but it's just a neat little trick. So, dark and stormy night, we open as black clouds are in the sky, and there's a blizzard, and it's raging through some place called the Dead Park. This is the home of the shadow sorcery minister Beelzebub Preposteror, and his home,
so you practiced
the villain
it.
nightmare.
That's not fair.
I read the book, Danielle.
So you had more time with it in your mind, in your head.
It's preposterous with an O-R at the end of it. Preposteror. It's not that hard.
Yeah, but nobody warned me about that when I was saying it for the first time.
Oh, okay. Next time, Danielle, I'll tell you, hey, Danielle, the word is preposterous. Is the spelling bee? You want me to use it in a sentence?
Anyway, Dead Park, Beelzebub. He
lives in the Villa Nightmare. So it's that kind of book. Everything is very, I don't want to say obvious, but fun like that and spooky. So Beelzebub Preposteror is sitting in his armchair. He's wearing a bilious green dressing gown, which is his favorite color, and he is upset. He is pensive and smoking his pipe, and there are all kinds of curious shapes in the form of equations and lightning bolts and other sorts of stuff coming out of his pipe, and he is upset. He is currently working on a potion that he is hoping to sell as a dietary supplement, so good for him. And when people eat it or put in their food, they will think that he is a great man. They'll forever be enchanted by Beelzebub Preposteror as a great man and a benefactor to humanity.
So he has all this magical ability and he's making a diet pill?
Well, a diet pill that makes everyone love him and think he's amazing.
So that's the actual thing, is that it literally makes people think that he's amazing.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I thought it was just going to make people think he was amazing because they lost weight on
their
diet.
Pill? No, yeah. He's an evil wizard, Danielle. He's going to force it.
I did not follow that logic when you were explaining it.
Oh, I'm sorry. That potion is a side project because as he's sitting in his armchair, he hears a low coughing and he spins around and he sees someone sitting in another armchair, a man with a bald head and little horns who introduces himself as Maledictus Maggot.
Okay.
Yeah, now the names in this book are great, Danielle.
Clearly. That's such success with the first one.
He is normal, quote unquote, in the book, but he has no eyelids, so I don't know how normal he really is.
I guess he doesn't need to blink. Are his eyes self-watering?
They're colorless and they bulge out of his skull. So they're kind of like bulgy, colorless eyes that he doesn't need to blink to cover.
Sounds perfectly normal.
He is, as we soon learn, an emissary of Satan, Beelzebub, as they refer to him in this book, the namesake, the benefactor of Preposteror. That's why he has the name Beelzebub, because he took it from Satan, his sponsor, I guess.
So is the other guy Satan?
No, Maledictus Maggot is the emissary of Satan.
Emissary of Satan. And then Beelzebub is the, Satan Jr.
No, he's more like an employee. He has, think of it like an artist.
Sure,
and the artist.
I got it.
Yeah. Exactly.
But he got his name.
Yeah, so he, named himself that in honor of his benefactor.
No, you get to name yourself in this world?
Well, I mean, who else would choose the name Beelzebub Preposteror?
I don't know.
Yeah, there you go. So, Maledictus Maggot informs Preposteror, the Shadow Ministry Sorcerer, that he is way behind his quota of evil deeds. He has fulfilled merely half of them, and that this is part of the contract he signed that granted him his amazing powers. So he literally signed a deal with the devil for magic powers and eternal life as long as he did a certain number of evil deeds, which mostly consist of polluting rivers, releasing toxic gases, driving species extinct, basically all sorts of evil nature-related stuff. So one of the big themes of this book is respect for nature and not taking wealth as the pinnacle of human achievement, which these two characters embody as the exact opposite as our evil foils.
Got it. And that is particularly evil.
Yes, it is. However, Preposteror tries to defend himself, saying that it's not my fault. There was a problem. I've already captured and imprisoned all the gnomes and sprites and elementals that rose up against me, so I have got them out of the way.
So all the nature-y things?
Yeah, but now the animals themselves have formed a high council and have sent spies into my home. There's this cat living here that is watching me, and I've not been able to complete all my tasks. I have to be super careful. I've been trying to keep him pampered and sort of off my scent. That's taking up so much of my time that I haven't been able to complete my deeds.
Well, why does it matter? I mean, they all know that he's evil, so why does it matter if he's doing these evil
They don't know he's evil. Like, Maggot knows he's evil, but the animals don't. They have spies everywhere. They send like a bunch of spies to try to find the source of the evil, and one of them ended up with Preposteror.
So they think he might be evil.
Well, he's one of many people being investigated, or many causes of the evil.
So the cat and the raven, I almost said squirrel, but that was not correct.
No, this is not Rocky and Bullwinkle. All right. So Maggot doesn't buy this excuse, even though Preposteror has been fattening this cat up and keeping him distracted. He's like, that's not really my problem. You have a contract. You got to fulfill your bargain of it. I don't care about these externalities. And if you don't complete all of your misdeeds by midnight tonight on New Year's Eve, you will be foreclosed upon.
Uh-oh.
Preposteror is very upset by this and very terrified. And he sits down and attempts to cry, but he can't cry, so only sheds a few bit of salt from his eyes, because apparently evil sorcerers can't cry.
Yeah.
Which is like that movie, was it Boys Don't Cry?
Where evil sorcerers can't cry?
Yeah, there we go. I'd watch that.
Pretty sure that's not the plot of Boys Don't Cry.
I don't know, Danielle. I've seen it. It's pretty much about evil sorcerers.
Now we know.
So Beelzebub Preposteror is super put out by this. He is distraught. He realizes he has no time to complete his evil mission before midnight. He is doomed. He goes walking out through his villa nightmare past what he calls his natural history museum, where he's imprisoned all the sprites and fairies and gnomes in little jars, has kept them under continual hypnosis so that he can do nefarious experiments on them and torture them as he will.
Charming.
I know.
Is he the protagonist of this story?
No, he is literally the antagonist.
Okay, which is we were following him, so I wasn't sure if maybe it was going to be one of those, like, anti-hero situations.
Yes, the evil guy who is literally driving all species on Earth extinct and is hoping to bring about the apocalypse. I mean, I forgot to mention this briefly, because it's only mentioned briefly in the book. When he's offending himself, he's like, well, it doesn't matter if I'm only half a year behind or so. The end of time, the apocalypse, whatever, the destruction of Earth is really pretty close. So a half a year or a year or two here won't make much of a difference. Like, whoa, that's not a good sign. And kind of a good point. Like, if you're already on track to destroy the Earth in a few years, doesn't really matter if he's like, I don't know, not poisoned enough rivers in the last month.
Yeah, that's a valid point, I would think.
But, again, Maggot does not care for that. So anyway, he's walking past his museum of sprites. He's heading down his corridor, and he comes to a door labeled Virtuoso Maurico di Mauro, which is the chamber where he keeps the cat.
Okay.
And he has spoiled this cat rotten. It has furniture to claw at, it has sweet cream and treats, and it sleeps pretty much all the time because he drugs it. He drugs the cat.
So sad.
Yeah. He drugs it with tranquilizers and he is fattening it up. He's basically trying to keep the cat, to be so trusting of him that he'll never be suspicious of Preposteror.
But if you were sleeping, when the cat is awake, you think the cat would know that it was being drugged all the time?
Why? It's in the food and stuff.
Because, cats sleep a lot, but they don't sleep that much.
Yeah, but if you were being drugged constantly, would you, know it?
Maybe if your precursor state to living there was not being drugged constantly, wouldn't you wonder why, all the time you're sleeping 22 hours a day?
Well, okay, so the backstory of the cat is it showed up on his doorstep, ragged, bone thin. It is a tomcat that is brown, white, and black fur, stripy. modeled, and it looked rather desperate and rather pathetic. And so the sorcerer took it, and he knew immediately it was one of the spies from the High Council of Animals. Don't ask how he knew. He just did. And at first, Mauricio had pretended to be just a normal stray, but eventually...
Mauricio's the name of the cat?
Yeah, Maurico di Mauro.
Okay. Oh, you said that on the door, right?
Yeah, that was the name played on the door. Virtuoso Maurico di Mauro.
Person or demon or something. I don't know.
Nope, it's the cat.
It went one ear out the other, so I was not paying attention.
I know, Danielle. The names here especially seem to elude you.
Well, it's an interesting name for a cat. Why would I think it's going to be the name of the cat?
Good point, Danielle, I guess. So Mauricio the cat showed up on the doorstep. He tried to pretend to be just normal stray so he could infiltrate and spy on the shadow sorcerer. Thought it was a very clever plan, but eventually, under the quote-unquote kindness of Preposteror, the cat grew to love and trust him and told him about his backstory, how he used to be a great mini singer, well-renowned, melted the hearts of everyone who heard him, but his voice was ruined when he ate a poisoned fish from a river that had been polluted. One of the Preposterors...
Is it probably by him?
Yep, exactly right. And it killed most of his family.
I'm glad he was somehow musically involved, because that's what threw me off, is you said that name, and I was like, that sounds like something like a conductor or a musician, and then you were talking about cats, and I completely forgot what we were
He's a musical cat, Danielle.
Got it.
You know how cats like to howl on fence posts and stuff? It's that kind of thing.
Yes, all cats are musical, we know that.
Yeah, well, you hear them outside my window, you would know. So... after he grew to trust Preposteror, he refers to him as Maestro or Dear Maestro because, I don't know, cat. So Preposteror goes into the room and he looks at the cat lying in its bed and he's like, I just really want to strangle this cat and kill it. If I'm going down, I'm taking this thing with me.
Poor kitty.
Yeah, no, this book is kind of dark, Danielle. For a middle grade fiction book, there is some really nasty stuff and it's kind of great. But he refrains from doing that because there'll be plenty of time for that later. I might still need him for something. I don't know. So he goes back to his office and starts writing down his last will and testament when Mauricio wakes up and walks into the room, as a cat does, and sits down right on the will in front of Preposteror and is like, hey, what's going on? You look like you're in a bad mood. So the cat can communicate with Preposteror.
Okay. Well, I figured since he told him his life story, right?
Exactly.
Okay. So why is he writing his last will and testament?
Because he's about to be foreclosed upon.
Oh, that's
which
right.
I assume it means dragged to hell and tortured for eternity or whatever it is when you fail your contract with the devil.
Yes, nothing good.
Nothing good. So that's why he's writing his last will and testament. And the cat is getting in the way. And Preposteror is very grumpy about this. He's like, get out of my way. Stop bothering me. And of course, because the cat, it's constantly just, reasserting itself and sitting down on the important things right in front of his face. And finally, Preposteror's like, just go stir that cauldron over there while I think. And so he's like, okay, sure thing. As he's stirring, Mauricio starts to develop this weird conscience. And he finally says to Preposteror, look, I have a confession to make. I was sent here to spy on you, but you are such a good person. I'm going to go back to the council and tell them how wonderful you are.
This cat's been bought.
It's totally, completely, and utterly under the spell. And he didn't even use magic. He just, coerced it. It's great.
It's just, nice to it. I have a question.
Yes.
Sorry,
Yeah,
I should have
please.
asked this earlier. How does the cat stir the cauldron?
Well, okay, so it gets up on a little step stool on its hind legs, puts both paws on the big wooden spoon and moves it back and forth.
I guess that might work. I was thinking because it doesn't have any opposable thumbs, so I was
doesn't.
trying to figure out how
It
to do it one-handed.
sandwiches it between his
that would
thumbs.
make
There
more
are
sense.
there are illustrations in this book, and they're pretty fun.
I'm really glad that the author/illustrator thought about how a cat would actually stir this cauldron.
They did. They both did. It's mentioned in the book and in the illustration.
That's
It's great.
fabulous. Okay, that makes me happy.
Yeah, it's a fun book. So Preposteror is amused by this, but it doesn't really lift his bad spirit once he remembers what dire straits he's in. And then there's a knock on his door, and he freaks out. He's like, no, not right now. It's too soon. It's not even midnight. I have time yet.
It's not them.
And he says to the cat, you go answer the door and tell whoever it is that I'm not here. I've gone to visit my aunt. Just get rid of him. And so the cat's like, all right, and goes open the door. No one's there.
Ooh, spooky.
So Mauricio's like, hey, no one's here. Preposteror's like, really? All right. Closes the door and is a little bit weirded out by this. Then there's another knock at the door. Like, what's going on? And so Preposteror then takes out a ring he's wearing that has a giant gem, and he points the gem at the door, laser beams shoot out of it and blast through the door, little pinpricks, and he just peppers the door till it looks like a sieve. He's like, I'll take care of those nosy bitty bodies.
It could be anything.
It could be anything.
It's a very dramatic reaction.
He doesn't care. He's like, I'm dead in a few hours. I'm evil too. What do I care if I hurt somebody?
It's probably just an evil act.
Mm-hmm.
Why doesn't he just go out and try to finish all his evil acts?
There's just not enough time. He's way behind. He has to like poison 10 rivers or whatever it is. He had to drive a bunch of species extinct. He's only got a few hours, Danielle, to do half a year's worth of evil deeds.
He should pick some quick things that are all in succession, like just go down the line of rivers and poison them all or whatever.
Yeah, okay. That won't take more than a few hours.
I don't know how evil these things have to be, or, I mean, is it just being mean to 600 people? You could just walk down a street and do terrible
there's a
stuff.
litany of things they list when a maggot is going over his deficiencies, the things he hasn't accomplished in the year.
Oh, okay.
And it is quite extensive.
Sorry, continue. Peppered the spray at the door.
So then there's another knock. This time, it's out the window. Uh-oh. So Mauricio goes to the window and opens it, and then in through the window in a cloud of black feathers and snow comes a disheveled raven. Yes, you remembered that from the description, Danielle. Good job.
That's all I remember.
Context clues.
It was a very simple description for once.
So a bird flutters into the laboratory, the evil laboratory of Preposteror. The raven looks around, sees Mauricio, the cat, looking at him and freaks out a bit. And he's like, oh no, a bird eater. He's going to eat me. And Mauricio, who has never eaten a bird in his life, apparently, or never caught a bird, is like, what? I'm just looking at you. What's going on?
Best friends.
And so the bird then says, all right, there's nobody coming behind me. Close the window because, quote unquote, it's pretty darned drafty and I got rheumatism or whatever you call it in my left wing anyway.
So that's an old cranky bird.
Yeah, so it talks kind of like that. And it's kind of fun. It talks like an old cranky bird. Mauricio always talks in a very haughty, refined sort of way. And so it's like, it's like an odd couple. So the raven begins to explain that he was sent here by the aunt of Preposteror, Madame Tyrannia Vampirella.
These
Great names. Yeah, I know, right? To announce that she would be arriving shortly. And while he's talking, he's winking.
Is she a vampire? Sorry.
No, she's not a vampire.
What's with the last name? Is she vampy?
She does vamp a lot, sure. Okay, let's go with that.
I'm just curious. The names seem to I don't
know, maybe
something.
It was a German translation name or something, or maybe he just wants something spooky, Danielle. It's fine.
Okay. Sorry, continue.
And so while the raven is explaining all this, he's winking desperately at Mauricio, who has no clue what's going on. He explains that he is a ragged old bird. He lost his feathers when he flew into a poison cloud. Another concoction, probably Preposteror and his ilk.
Why does anybody live here?
Well, it's everywhere, Danielle. The whole world's going to pot, is the point.
That's true. I forgot. End of the world. Blah, blah, blah.
And so Preposteror is like, hey, wait, why are you winking so much at my friend the cat? And Mauricio's like, he's winking at me? And the bird's like, that is involuntary, sorcery minister. It doesn't mean a thing. It's just my nerves. So he's like blaming all his weird quirks on his condition that was caused by pollution.
I mean, I would too. Apparently he's terrible at being secretive.
Well, Mauricio certainly didn't pick up on any of this either. They're not good at this, Danielle.
Apparently
In fact,
not.
I will have comment about their spying jobs in a bit. So Preposteror lets it sink in that his Aunt Tyrannia is coming here, and he thinks that, oh my gosh, she's learned about my predicament. She's come here to be a vulture and to take the scraps for free of my, whatever I'm leaving behind. She's going to pilfer all of it like a leech or a buzzard or something.
How would she have heard about it?
She's his relative. She's in the same circles. I don't know.
It's just widespread knowledge when somebody's greatly behind on their evil deeds.
Well, she's also his financial sponsor.
Is there one of those thermometers in the underworld and they have everybody's name and you're only 40%?
No, but there should be.
Oh, he's really behind this quarter. He doesn't have enough stars on his chart.
I'm sure the evil circles are full of gossip, Danielle. I mean, it's one of the sins, so
probably.
I'm sure they engage in it liberally.
The best sin. No, just kidding. That's terrible. Don't gossip anybody.
Yeah.
Children. Kids.
All the children listening to our dumb podcast, don't listen to us.
Do not gossip. It is not nice. Say things to people's faces.
Okay, Danielle, it's not any better. You're the worse than I am in this episode.
Okay, sorry. Deadly sins.
Preposteror decides that he is going to secret away all of his most valuable things into his sorcery-proof safe in the basement, just to spite his aunt. Yeah. And while he's gone, he tells Mauricio to take that bird, guard him in your room, I don't trust him, and don't let him talk to you or fill your head with bad ideas. So he leaves, and Mauricio is like, okay, bird, march. And the bird's like, hey, wait a minute. We can talk normal now. He's gone. And Mauricio's like, well, don't try to talk to me with your silver tongue, bird. I'm not listening to you. And the bird's like, wow, you're a real idiot, aren't you?
It's just not untrue.
Not untrue. He's like, you still know what's going on. My name is Jacob. I'm also one of the animal spies sent by the High Council. I'm your comrade. I was sent to spy on Aunt Tyrannia while you were sent to spy on Preposteror. Like, we're the same. And Mauricio's like, I still don't quite buy it. I think my master, my maestro, is a really cool dude.
This poor cat.
And the bird's like, gosh, I wish I'd stayed in my nest with Clara, who was his poor wife, apparently.
Is Clara not alive anymore?
Well, she's still there, but he calls her his poor wife because he's not there to be with her. Like, he's on this secret mission.
Is Clara also with Aunt Tarantula? I don't remember her name.
Tyrannia?
Tyrannia.
No. That's why they're not together, Danielle.
Got it. Okay. I wasn't sure how this got all set up.
Oh my gosh. The most minute details seem to escape you today. What's going on?
I wasn't sure if he got to, if both of them got to be with her or if it was just the one. I don't know. Maybe she's also a spy. Sam, I don't know their lives.
She's not a spy, Danielle. She's a bird.
Are they the protagonists, the cat and the raven?
Yes.
Okay. I was just curious if there was like another character that was coming in that was going
Well, there's another character coming in, but we'll get to that.
Okay. I'm just very perplexed by this. I'm spending a lot of time with the antagonist, and that's not common, so.
Again, this book is all about sort of the creepy crawly. It's very goofy.
Right.
So, and these characters are not so much nasty as kind of like, I think Adam's family, if they were actually evil.
Got it.
Anyway, Mauricio is still confused by why the bird is calling him comrade, and the whole High Council thing is like, look, I'll just go and talk to my master about this, my maestro, and explain and ask him if he's evil. And the bird's like, what? You can't do that. You'll reveal our whole spot. You'll blow up us being spies. He's like, well, I already told him we were spies. And the bird's like, you're a real idiot, aren't you?
Excuse me, sir. Are you evil?
Basically, that's the cat's plan. Like, this cat has been drugged and cajoled to the point where its brain is completely muddled. It wasn't that bright to begin with.
How did he end up on this High Council thing?
Well, he wasn't on the High Council. He was tasked by the High Council as a spy.
Yeah, but why? Like, what? You think you pick smarter cats?
I mean, again, I think they just cast a wide net, Danielle.
Okay, sure.
Of volunteers, I would suspect.
Anybody want to be a spy? No pre-qualifications.
Look, Danielle, anyone can be a spy, have eyes and ears and an ability to remember things. So probably not us.
But this cat's been sleeping 20 plus hours a day.
Well, again, okay, so this is one of the complaints I have about these people, which I'll get into a bit later, is they don't seem to have any contact with the High Council at all. Like, they're just here doing their thing. Like, they don't report back regularly. There's no communications going back and forth. So I'm really not sure that this High Council is particularly well run.
That's very odd. I hadn't even thought of that yet, and now I'm annoyed by it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, they're just, okay, go off and, let us know if you find anything. And they're not like, there's not like regular check-ins in case anything happens to them. Like, they're just...
They could all be dead. Nobody would know.
Oh, I mean, maybe. It's very unclear. So the cat is, again, defending his master. He's like, hey, you don't know my maestro at all. He's a wonderful person. He does beautiful things. And the raven's like, look, you're a real moron. And the cat's like, how dare you? I stem from ancient lineage of Neapolitan knights. My ancestors go all the way back to King Oedipus. Hey, Oedipus. Puss. I won't stand for my family being insulted. So again, I'm not sure if that's a German pun they put in English or they just threw that one in there for fun, but good for them.
It's a good one.
So they start fighting. And the raven bites his tail and they scuffle and they end up back in the laboratory in their fight. After the fight, they finally get to a stalemate and they pull apart and they sort of have respect for each other. Post-fight respect. Like, okay, look, sorry, that got out of hand. They both apologize. And the raven goes on to explain that my madam is not only the aunt of Preposteror, she is a money witch.
Money witch.
And she pays his salary.
She pays the salary of
Preposteror.
Whatever,
she's his financial sponsor.
Okay.
What's his name, Danielle? I'm sorry, what?
Beelzebub.
What's his full title? I believe you want to show proper respect to a very well-educated man.
Preposteror.
There you go.
That is really hard.
I really hope we do a part 2 so that you'll have to do this next week.
No, don't make me.
So she supplies the financial backing to Preposteror while Satan or whoever provides the magical power backing.
They put a lot of hope on this guy.
Well, I mean, he's just, again, I don't know if she and him are the only evil people in employ of Satan or if they're just one cog in their wheel. So who knows?
You think Satan would have many cogs in
You would
his
think
wheel.
so. I would hope so. I mean, not hope, but like any well-run evil organization would have contingencies.
Right. Satan's been established for quite a while. It's not like it's new to the scene.
Exactly. So you'd hope that he has all his eggs in just the Preposteror basket. And so the Raven's like, okay, I've seen how evil she is. I know that she's doing evil things, but I have no proof yet. And I'm like, what? You can't just go back to the council and be like, hey, she's totally evil. She's the one. Her and Preposteror. Maybe we should do something about them. You can send more people into, you don't have any like hard evidence. You can send more people in to gather more evidence. You could maybe escalate this a little bit.
Are they trying to like send them to a tribunal? Like, why do they even have to have hard evidence?
I don't know, Danielle. He's like, I don't have enough evidence. I was hoping if I came here and you and I could work together to get the evidence we need to blow this whole thing wide open.
Okay. Call it shenanigans, but whatever. I don't know their world.
No, like I said, I think the Animal Council is, it sounds like it was hastily conceived. Like the implication is things started going terribly around the world. And so the Animal Council was convened or established. And they just like, okay, we'll send out a bunch of people to go look for the problem and let us know where it's coming from. And then we'll figure out how to handle it.
That's a way to do that.
And apparently Jacob the Raven found what he thinks is probably one of the big sources of the problem here and decides just to sit on that information, trying to get like harder evidence, like he has to impress a judge with a warrant or something.
And meanwhile, the world's going to end.
Yeah, well, in a couple of years, or it is, again, in the nearest future.
Still, they're on a timeline. They're on a time crunch.
They are. It's crazy. And so the cat's like, God, I'm still not 100% on board with this. And he's like, okay, well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to hide in here because my madam is coming and we'll eavesdrop. And if I'm right, you're going to help me take this whole thing down. And if I'm wrong, I'll eat a rusty nail and so on and so forth. They make a little silly bet.
Okay.
And at first, Mauricio is not really for eavesdropping. He's like, it's not dignified.
He's a spy. I do not understand.
No. He's like, but again, he is a spy who has been completely compromised.
It doesn't
Danielle.
like still.
He also has like this weird sense of honor that compels him to act in ways that do not make sense for a spy.
All right. It's fine. I'm just accepting it. I'm moving on.
And so while they're still arguing about how to do this, Jacob again says, gosh, I wish I had stayed in my warm nest with Amelia. And then Mauricio says, I thought your wife's name was Clara. And he's like, no, it's a different one.
I was like, wait a second.
Yeah, so this is going to be a running gag with Jacob, is that he has many wives.
Do ravens have many partners? Is that a thing? I don't know anything about ravens.
I don't know. If you're out there and you know about raven, if you're a
ravenologist,
ornithologist, Daniel. If you're an ornithologist and know about ravens, you can tell us.
We would like to know, actually.
Sure. I'd love to know about the mating habits of ravens.
I mean, I kind of would. If anybody out there knows.
They're corvids, right? Ravens are corvids, I think.
Sure.
And they're very smart.
They are very smart. I just don't know if they have multiple partners.
So they're looking around the lab for a place to hide so they can do their eavesdropping, and they come across a barrel labeled toxic waste. Jacob asks Mauricio, hey, I can't read. You know what that says? And Mauricio, all puffed up, is like, sure, I can read. It says garbage or fuel or whatever. And at that very moment, there's a large clatter of noise, like the howling of a siren that's going to be heard throughout all of the villa nightmare. And it's like, oh no, she's coming. So they quickly hop into the barrel of toxic waste as Madame Tyrannia Vampirella crashes through the fireplace onto the green fire, singing a song and making just a big old grand entrance. She is like super extra. She loves putting on a show.
I like her already. So there's a giant siren that accompanies her when she arrives someplace.
She makes a whole bunch of noise. She's like getting attention. She's chanting this, I guess, a song or a poem. Again, it's a book, so I don't know if she's actually singing it. And she's making this big entrance about how great she is.
And they jumped into a thing of toxic waste.
To hide and eavesdrop
Is this going to give them magic powers?
No, toxic waste doesn't give you magic powers, Danielle.
Okay,
it gives you cancer.
Maybe not in this world, Sam. You don't know what the toxic waste is made out of. Could be magic toxic waste, like...
You know what? Sure, magic toxic waste.
Like Spider-Man being bitten by a radioactive spider.
Yes, you've cracked the code, Danielle. The cat and the raven get magic powers and solve the whole book with a snap of their fingers.
Just saying, this is how superheroes are made, Sam. Literally how superheroes are made.
Yes, and those can always be trusted as totally true and realistic ideas for how things will work.
Well, in a fantasy novel, maybe.
Okay, Danielle. Well, I'm telling you, that's not what happens.
That's unfortunate.
I will tell you, they get very sick.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah, no, they get sick, Danielle. This book is realistic in some ways.
Realistic. This book about Beelzebub Preposteror.
Not even close.
Preposteror is...
There you go. What's his aunt's name?
Tarantella, Vampire, I don't know.
Tyrannia Vampirella.
Tarantula Vampire.
Nope. All right, well, let's just move on because this is going to go on all day trying to figure out these names.
Mauricio and I don't remember the Raven's name.
Jacob.
I was going to say something with a J, but I couldn't remember what it was. I'll get there. Okay, I can do this.
So Aunt Tyrannia crashes through the fireplace, lands, she puts out the fire, she's on fire, but it doesn't bother her because witches are no longer bothered by fire.
Of course not.
And she looks around and says, hey, why aren't you clapping? Because there's no one there. And she's very put out because she loves attention.
Well, why didn't she make sure people were there before she arrived?
I mean, how could she?
I don't know, but if you're going to make a grand entrance, you should be smart enough to make a grand entrance in a place people are.
Danielle, what you also realize is that neither her nor Preposteror are particularly smart.
That's good. This bodes well. I'm glad that Beelzebub
bodes well for the earth,
the
not
devil
for them.
put all of his, he supports this guy that's not that intelligent.
I mean, he's very well educated, but I wouldn't call him very intelligent. So she is wearing a sulfurous yellow evening gown because apparently evening gowns are the only thing people wear in this world.
Oh, yeah, why not? I mean, if you got it, flaunt it.
And she's just covered in jewelry and gold. And she's wearing a giant hat with gold hanging off it. And she's carrying, instead of a pocketbook, a little mini safe.
That's basically,
which is, I think, adorable.
How I imagined her. So that's good. Minus the mini safe. I didn't see that coming.
But that's great. So she's wandering around, she's snooping a bit while she waits for Preposteror to show up. And then he comes back from hiding all his stuff in his basement vault. And he's like, hey, hi, Auntie. And they do a little sniping, so good to see you. And she's like, oh, I see you're still living high in the hog off of my large ass. And he's like, oh, I see you're doing pretty well yourself because she is extremely fat. And he is very skinny and bald. So it's they're again kind of polar opposites. And he's like, I was glad to hear about your coming. She's like, what, you heard about I was coming? He's like, oh yeah, you're Raven. He announced your coming. She's like, I didn't want him to do that. He went and did that on his own.
Uh-oh.
But she's like, he doesn't know anything about me. He's completely ignorant. I pulled the wool over his eyes. He's just a regular bird. And Jacob is very smug about this. And she's like, of course, I know all about his part as being a spy for the High Council of Animals. And Jacob's like, oh, I guess she does know about me. Oops.
These are really terrible spies.
Yeah, no. And so then Preposteror starts insulting Mauricio. He's like, he is so stupid. He worships the ground I walk on. I totally have him fooled. And poor Mauricio starts to cry a little bit in the barrel of toxic waste.
Aww. Poor Mauricio and Jacob.
Neither of them are feeling particularly well. They're starting to feel a bit nauseous and kind of sickly while in this barrel.
Well, that's because they're slowly turning into superheroes.
Nope. They're slowly turning into dead.
Don't ruin my fun, Sam.
So after a bit of, back and forth, Aunt Tyrannia's like, you still haven't asked why I've come to see you. And Preposteror's like, all right, here we go. She's going to give me one of her curtain lectures. And is a curtain lecture a phrase that I don't know about? Or is that, again, a translation from German?
I don't know what a curtain lecture is.
Well, it's explained in the book as something she says, but there's always a hidden purpose. There's something behind the curtain.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I like the phrase.
I like the phrase. I just don't know if that was something I should be familiar with, or if, again, this was an interesting translation choice from German, which is fun. I
would like to think German has a lot of great words and phrases we should be using in English.
Oh, 100%. So she goes on and on about how much she supported him and how much he owes the success to her because she took him in after her parents died in a boat accident that they caused.
Who caused?
They drowned.
The parents caused on themselves?
Yeah, the parents. The whole family is evil. They have a whole lineage of being evil to each other, being a force for evil in the world.
Right. So wait, who died?
His parents.
His parents died because of a boat accident they caused on themselves?
But they caused a boat accident, like a cruise ship accident or something, and they drowned along with everyone else. I think it might be referencing the Titanic, but it's not clear.
But they didn't make it off the ship. That wasn't very intelligent.
Well, again, no one said this family was the smartest. And she mentions that she sent him to the best schools, including the Magic Institute of Technology in Hexachusetts, which, delightful. Those are puns so remarkable, I'm not sure even I would have made them.
They're really good.
Yeah, this book is full of wordplay like that, and I kind of love it. They're really grown-worthy, but I can imagine, as a kid, they're great. They're wonderful.
They are. They're very you.
So she tells him that there was a scroll that was given to him by their grandfather Belial. Grandpa Belial, he tore it in half and gave half to you, and half was willed to someone else. And it's completely useless if you don't have both half, but I'm sentimental. I want to remember, Grandpa, will you sell me that scroll for... And just pulling money out of her safe, like tens of thousands of, I guess, crowns is what they use in the book. This
is so sentimental. I just really want to spend a ton of money on this piece of paper. I swear it has no other value.
Well, Preposteror does not buy that for a moment. He's
like, why would you? That is the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
So they go back and forth for a bit, like, he's not buying. He's trying to draw her out the real purpose for her visit. And she's like, oh, it's just sentimental. I just want to hear. Do you want more money? You're going to bleed me dry, your poor auntie? And this keeps going on. And then she tries to pull the old, do you remember the time we had a picnic and burned down the entire forest? It was so idyllic, trying to do the whole heartstring thing. And he doesn't buy it. And then finally, Preposteror's like, you know what? I know you have the other half of the scroll, auntie. And she is aghast that he knows. And I'm guessing he just figured it out because, duh.
Why?
If it's useless without the other half.
Right. Why did that guy separate the, why?
Spite, apparently, because he was evil and just wanted to, again.
Sorry, I forgot.
Yeah. No, so the family members in this book are not familial. They are spiteful and they're conniving. They're only trying to get what's good for them out of each other. So even though Preposteror and the aunt are kind of in the same job, they're still looking for every opportunity to get one over on the other person.
Right. I kind of gathered that. I was just curious why he didn't just burn the document or something.
He did that just to be mean, to torture people.
That seems fair. Continue.
Yeah. So she managed to acquire the other half from one of their cousins who was an actress, and she paid a lot of money for it because apparently being an actress costs a lot of money to maintain that lifestyle. And Preposteror's like, say, auntie, how do we know this is the real scroll? Have you ever showed it to a specialist? Maybe I should take a look at it. And she's like, no. And so she finally breaks down and says, okay, this is a very powerful spell. It only works on New Year's Eve because only then do wishes have an extra special effect.
Oh yeah, I forgot this book was about wishes.
Yeah. It's one of the most powerful evil spells in the universe, and it's very complicated, and it causes wishes to come true. So I want to have a grand old party, and I want to use this to sort of celebrate New Year's. So she's playing it off that she doesn't really need it.
So she's playing it off that she doesn't really need it?
She's playing off that she wants it because she wants to have fun and have a party and just, cause a bunch of mayhem because she just...
Yes, that's what you'd use your endless wishes on.
Right, exactly. And not that is something desperately, that there's clearly some other motivation behind that.
Right, of course.
And so here's when we get to the name of the potion, which I'm going to do my best to read. Actually, no, I'm going to make you read it first.
Oh, God. You're not nice.
So there is the potion.
I hate German.
But this is a German word. Okay, I'll get in a moment because there's actually a interlude in this book where they break down this word and the grammar of it.
Okay, this is Satanarchaeolidealcohellish notion potion.
It's pretty good. That's actually pretty much as good as I can get, Danielle.
Well, the nice thing about German is that you just say the words.
Yeah. The Satanarchaeolidealcohellish notion potion. I'm not going to call it that again because it's a word that's very hard to say.
No, wait, can you say that again, Sam? I think I missed it.
Okay. Well, maybe I'll probably say it again sometime, but that's enough for now because I don't have all day.
Oh, come on. You made me say the name 12 times.
And you say, what, Preposteror?
Yeah.
Because it was one of the main character's names.
Well, this is apparently a very important wish potion. I think our listeners deserve to hear what it's supposed to be called.
Oh, I don't know if this is what it's supposed to be called. That's what I'm calling it.
I think our listeners deserve to hear what Sam thinks this is supposed to be called.
Okay, I'm calling it the Satanarchaeolidealcohellish notion potion.
I think that's pretty close.
That's pretty good, right?
Should put that in the show notes, too. People could...
I'll be there, because that is the subtitle of the book, actually. But I did not mention that because, obviously...
That's quite the choice. Do we know what that translates to?
That is the English translation of the word, Danielle.
But does it, I meant the words, what they come from.
Yes. This book, I said, has an interlude in the middle of it where it breaks down the grammar of the word for you.
Great.
So Auntie's mentioned that she wants the scroll is the recipe for this notion potion, this Wunschpunch, I guess, in the German, Wunschpunch, instead of potion, notion potion.
Uh-huh.
And it only works during New Year's Eve because wishes have extra power on New Year's.
Do you just get one wish or multiple wishes?
One for every cup you drink.
Oh, okay.
So a lot of wishes, huge amount of wishes.
So you can make as much of the potion as you want?
As much as you can handle.
Does it have, side effects?
We'll get to that, Danielle.
Okay. Sorry. Jumping ahead. I'm very curious.
Preposteror is like, hey, this is perfect for me, because if I get this potion, I can just wish away all the evil things I need to do and fulfill my quota.
Right.
So now he's thinking, how do I get this scroll from her so I can make this and do my job without giving her my half of the scroll? And he's like, there's a problem with this plan, Auntie, because we have spies. They're going to want to be there watching us make wishes. If we're making all these evil wishes, they're going to know it's all our fault. And I'm like, okay, a couple of things here. One, you could just get rid of them. And he's like, we can't get rid of them because they'll be missed or something and the council will be suspicious. I'm like, they don't seem to be on the top of the ball.
No. Or just don't take them to the party or something.
Right. Don't take them to the party, even if they insist and if they get suspicious. Also, you can just wish them whatever you want. If you have a magic wishing potion, you can just wish them to be gone or to love you or whatever you want.
Or
you have
to
magic
forget
powers.
all the things.
Yeah, exactly. And this is where the aunt drops a bomb that the potion actually grants the opposite of whatever you wish.
So you have to wish for the opposite of what the
You want to
opposite
happen.
thing so that you can get what you want.
Yes, exactly right.
But a weird wishing potion.
There is a caveat. If you don't finish the entire potion, drink it all, and make all your wishes before the first bell of New Year, for stroke of midnight, the first of the New Year's bells rings out, the potion's reversing effect gets canceled. So everything you wished will be taken literally instead of reversed.
How long is that?
Well, it's about 6 o'clock, so they have 6 hours to make and drink the entire potion.
Okay. So they can make as little or as much as they want, but they have 6 hours.
No, it has one fixed size.
Okay, and they have to drink all of it in 6 hours.
Or you have to make it and drink it all in the requisite time.
Okay. How long does it take to make?
We'll get to that. There is chapters devoted to that, Danielle.
Okay, sorry.
I am not a potionologist. I don't have, the time for all the potions off the top of my head. And so Preposteror is delighted by this. Like, oh my gosh, so they can be there. They can see us making these wishes for wonderful things to happen. They'll go report back on us being wonderful people. And meanwhile, all these terrible things will happen. We'll fill out my quota, and it's great.
How convenient.
And no one will know where the evil comes from. And so in the barrel of toxic waste, Jacob's like, hey, Katso, are you listening to this? I was totally right.
Cat's dead. Too late.
And he's like, you don't look so good. Are you sure you know that this is just garbage? And the cat's like, I gotta be honest, I can't read it at all. I don't know what this is. It's making me feel awful. And they're clearly suffering greatly at the poisonous toxic waste.
Well, yeah.
So eventually, after some more back and forth on who gets the scroll, it comes out that not only had Preposteror have the threat of foreclosure upon him, but Tyrannia is also being foreclosed. So she's in the same boat as Preposteror.
So neither of them have done their evil deeds?
They have both been waylaid or held up by their spy, and none of them have filled their contractual obligations.
Okay, I just don't think it's that hard to do your evil deeds away from your spies.
I agree,
Especially
Danielle.
What's-His-Face, who had his cat all, drugged out.
Preposteror, yeah. Okay, I agree, Danielle, but also, I think they're just lazy, too. I think they're evil and lazy.
I think so too, but if the end result is that you basically lose your soul, whatever, you're dragged to the underworld, you think that you'd put a little more effort into it each year?
Well, I think, yes. I mean, obviously they should be able to do it, but clearly they just either got distracted or had a bad year or whatever it is, and they didn't fulfill their contractual obligation.
Okay.
I agree. They're terrible at their jobs, and that's probably why they're about to be foreclosed upon, Danielle.
Yes, they deserve it.
Yes. I'm not saying they don't. So after some arguing back and forth about who gets to save their skin, finally, Preposteror suggests, look, we're in the same boat here, Auntie. We can either save each other ourselves, or we can drown together. So what do you say? We put aside our petty squabbles, we'll combine the scrolls, and we'll make this potion, and we'll both get our butts saved. I'm like, okay, you could have done that from the beginning and saved 2 chapters worth of arguing.
But no, Sam, no. Then the cat and the raven wouldn't know all this stuff.
Sure. And of course, in their minds, they thought they're going to backstab the other one as soon as they can.
Of course. Because heaven help, they just actually help each other.
Right, of course. It's not in their nature, Danielle. It's a frog and the scorpion.
I know. Got it.
So they go off to go into the act to find the other half of the scroll, leaving Tyrannia's copy on the table with Mauricio and Jacob, who scramble out of the barrel of toxic waste, both pretty much worse for wear, not doing great.
Are we assuming the toxic waste is in here because he dumps it into rivers?
Yeah.
Okay. Sure.
He makes, or it could be a byproduct of all his nefarious experiments, Danielle.
Let's go with that. I'm willing to go with that.
He has toxic waste around. He's an evil sorcerer, Danielle. I don't understand what the problem is.
Just human toxic waste around in an evil sorcerer's lab seems kind of silly.
Maybe he uses it to brew potions, like his evil potions.
Well, since he makes rivers toxic, I was willing to believe that he just dumps it into the lakes and rivers.
He probably does all kinds of things with it, Danielle. It's a versatile substance.
Okay, that's fine. Anyway, they climbed out of it.
Yeah, so as soon as Preposteror and Tyrannia leave. Mauricio and Jacob climb out, and Mauricio is not feeling well. He's also feeling very foolish for having been completely fooled by Preposteror.
Mm-hmm. As well he should.
And he's like, all right, I'm going to go give that man a piece of my mind. And Jacob's like, you moron. Don't go talking. We can go up to like, you villain, I've got you now. He's just going to kill you. And he's going to like, it's not going to help. We got to fix this. And if we don't stop them from brewing that potion, they're going to destroy the world tonight.
Who is letting this cat do anything?
No, this cat is got like this overdeveloped sense of honor. It likes to like big grand gestures. It's like almost like a Don Quixote kind of thing. It has like this notion that it has this noble challenge. Like, I must defend the world. I will challenge you. Yes, kind of thing.
That's exactly how I was thinking about it in my head. So
that's perfect. And Jacob's like, no. They, under no circumstances can they suspect we know anything or our lives are forfeit. And what we should do right now is take that scroll and throw it into the fire and just be done with this, which is a pretty good idea.
It's
so Jacob
not going to happen, but yes.
No, of course not, because there wouldn't be a book. So Mauricio and Jacob go to get the scroll, and the scroll comes alive and wraps itself around them like an anaconda and starts squeezing the life out of them.
It knows when people are trying to kill it.
So just a little while later, Preposteror and Tyrannia walk back in, and he says in a commanding voice a spell that releases them. So they put a spell on the scroll to keep it safe or whatever.
When did they do that?
I guess they just did it. I don't know, Danielle. Maybe the scrolls imbue with that naturally as a protective measure. Maybe all evil scrolls naturally protect themselves.
I would like to think so. Otherwise, they would have heard them do the protective spell.
I mean, they were suffering from toxic waste poisoning, and they were talking to each other in the barrel. They could have missed a few things.
Sure, okay.
So Preposteror releases them, and he's like, okay, you two go away for a while. We're going to make up a little surprise for you, because we're going to have a little New Year's Eve party. So go play in Mauricio's room. Don't leave the room, and we'll come get you when the surprise is ready. And they try to protest and say, no, we'll stay. We'll help. Nope, no doing.
So they're not worried that the two of them were in the lab?
So they are fed some story. They were fighting. So Jacob has a very good liar. He says that they were fighting in Mauricio's room, and they tumbled into the lab when the scroll attacked them. And Preposteror believes this because he thinks that Mauricio was completely under his spell and would have done whatever he told him to.
Okay, sure.
So he and Mauricio are then ushered into Mauricio's room where they are locked in, while Tyrannia and Preposteror go and assemble the two halves of the scroll together. And it's like a 5-foot scroll when completely assembled. They use a magic spell to bring the two halves together. It's very showy. And now they have the full scroll for the Notion Potion, which is bad.
For the Satanarchaeolidealcohellish.
Yeah, that thing, Danielle.
I didn't have it in front of me anymore. Sorry.
So back in Mauricio's room, Jacob is distraught. His philosophy is to be pessimistic. He says, one must generally expect the worst and then do what one can to prevent it.
Sure. Expect the worst, hope for the best.
No, it's like the opposite of that. It's plan for the worst and then try to fix it later.
Okay.
And so he is like, there's nothing we can do. They found us out. They've locked us in this room. How can we stop them and screw up the potion without them stopping us? They're suspicious. We have no way of fixing this. We are in dire straits.
If only they had an entire backing of a committee to help them out.
You would think so, but this, even things like there's not enough time to even go get the High Council of Animals. Like by the time we got there and back, it'll be past midnight. Game over.
They don't have like messengers or phones.
I mean, if they had a messenger, like how long would it take a messenger to get to the council, assemble them, explain everything, get them to stop this?
I don't know.
There
What
isn't
if
enough
it was
time.
a bird? It's like,
well, again, maybe the council is many hundreds of miles away.
maybe, but birds.
Birds can't fly hundreds of miles an hour, Danielle.
Depends on how long they have, though. Like
it would still take them many hours to get there and then get back.
And
round
as the
trip.
crow flies, literally, maybe actually quite close.
They state that it is too far to go.
Okay.
So I think they would know like if the council is on a different continent or something.
Okay, fine.
I mean, I know you want the council to be just right next door conveniently, but that's not the case.
No, it just seems like they're not trying very hard.
No, what they should have done is alert the council, I don't know, months ago that they had found the evil person and maybe had a plan in place since then.
Or they should,
that would have been
yes, and they should also have some kind of like, in case of emergency situation, go to XYZ location.
I mean, again, yeah, they have 6 hours. I don't think they're going to do a whole lot, but
they don't even try.
Yes,
they don't even get other animals.
So Jacob laments that he wishes he was spending his days, instead of this terrible spine, he was still with his warm nest with Ramona, another one of his many wives.
Clara and Amelia?
So far. Yeah.
I can remember those apparently.
can't do Preposteror, but you can do Ramona, Clara, and Amelia. Good job.
Thanks.
So Mauricio is a little bit distraught. He's like, well, if they destroy the world, what use is there for a mini singer? Like, I can't be a mini singer if there's no one left alive to appreciate my singing.
That's accurate.
And Jacob does one of my favorite things. He laments, why doesn't anyone else bother? Up there in heaven, for example, there's one thing I'd like to know. Why do the bad guys that will always have so much, activity and power while the people upstairs do nothing? I'm like, hey, that's a good point. Because in like every fantasy book I've read where there's like a supreme evil being, like an evil god creature, like there's a good versus evil, whether it's, Lord of the Rings or Wheel of Time or Sword of Truth or whatever, any of those books where they're fighting some big evil thing, they're good god to evil gods. Like, the evil gods seem to have a direct line to the mortal plane, the physical plane, and the good gods and the good powers just sort of do nothing, just hang about, because obviously they have to, because the heroes can be heroes. But it's like, that doesn't seem right.
Sometimes they're a little uppity, the heaven gods or the higher up gods.
I mean, maybe, but if this is literally, they're about to destroy all of your creation or all of what you your entire reason to exist, then maybe you, I don't know, intervene a bit with your divine powers and solve the problem.
Sure, I don't disagree, but I think at least some of the stories I've read, they have, there's a division in the heavens where some of them care about the mortals and some of them don't. And
I mean, sure, but then why are the ones who care don't do anything?
I'm not disagreeing, Sam.
These are not pantheons I'm talking about. This isn't like the Greek pantheon where you have Poseidon is going against the will of Zeus or whatever. This is literally hell and heaven. This is also in a lot of the other books, there's one big evil dude and one big good dude, that everyone respects. There isn't a pantheon of arguing deities.
I don't disagree. I'm just saying maybe that's an explanation in some books. Not in this book,
In
clearly.
some books, okay, but I'm talking about literally heaven and hell here.
Sure.
In this book, or I don't know, Melkor and the Valor, or whatever it is in Lord of the Rings. I never really read the Silmarillion because I don't know, who cares? But or in the Wheel of Time, they have the evil one and the good one that protects the wheel. Whatever. Why are there literally a force for good and a force for evil, but only the force for evil seems to do anything actively?
I don't know.
Yeah, I agree with you, Jacob.
They have
good
more
point.
to lose, to win.
No,
they want to take over.
The real reason is because you want to have a big evil power to make it intimidating, and you have the heroes have to overcome it with their abilities and cunning or whatever. And if it was just a snap of the fingers from divine being, it would just be completely solved.
Right.
And it wouldn't be a very interesting book.
It usually feels
That's
like the divine
reason.
beings are letting the mortals or whatever figure it out themselves.
I mean, maybe, but it's also then if the divine beings already know everything's going to work out, then why even make the evil in the first place? There's all kinds of questions, Danielle.
Sure. There's always kinds of questions when you have dichotomies like that.
The Jacob makes a very good point that in this book, where there's literally the devil trying to destroy the world, why isn't anyone up in heaven doing anything about this?
No, I did not disagree with that point at all.
Okay. So Mauricio's well, your philosophy is to be very pessimistic. Mine is quite the opposite. I have to be able to get excited, which is why I always try to picture the best of all possibilities and to do what I can to achieve it. Oh, odd couple, yin and yang. And so Jacob's fine, whatever. Nothing's going to happen as long as we're locked inside this room. We have to figure out a way out of here, and maybe we can come up with a solution. And Mauricio's okay, let's see if we can open that window maybe and go out into the snow. And they're what are we going to do? Go to the High Council? By the time we got there and could do anything, midnight would already be here and gone. So that's not going to work, Danielle.
I was just wondering if there were other better ways to get to the High Council or communicate with them.
Apparently not,
okay.
Which is a failing, I agree, but that's just the circumstances they find themselves in.
Of course.
And so they think about it for a moment, and Mauricio's well, I don't know what we're going to do, but we can't figure it out to stay out here. And so they just decide to go out into the snow to try to figure out a solution that might solve their problems.
So I thought they were locked in a room.
They're locked in a room, but the window's open. He manages to force the window open
So they
can sneak out.
Go outside.
Yeah. Windows, they exist too.
Sure.
And I think that's where we're going to have to end it for today, halfway through this story.
Right when they get out of the window into the snow, Sam.
Cliffhanger!
Will they make it out alive?
Probably. Out the window for sure.
You never know. You don't know what's out the window, Sam.
So I'm going to just take a brief interlude here to talk about the notion potion, the origin of the word.
Okay. Yes, I want to know.
Yeah, there are 2 pages here where the book explains the origin of this word, the Satanarchaeolidealcohellish notion potion. Nailed it. I'm so good at
You're
this.
so good at it, Sam. I'm so impressed. Applause.
Well, for someone who can't say
applause.
preposteror, I think you should be.
Okay, that is a very hard word.
It is not. So the book explains that these are called telescoping words,
Okay.
which are basically just giant portmanteaus. And I think that's more of a thing in German than English. Like I know that I don't know German. I don't speak German, but I do know, at least I've heard that their grammar allows for them to combine words in these giant mega words. And so I think that's like, again, one of the very German puns that they sort of just backported here to English. And so it is a combination of 7 other words. It's a combination of Satan,
Right.
anarch, archaeology, lie, ideal, alcohol, and hellish.
Yeah, I could see that.
And so it goes through how you take all those words and you stuff them together to form simple telescoping words. Then you take those 6 telescoping words and shove them together to make a bunch of more complicated telescoping words, which are doubles. Then you triple them, and you do a double-double, and you quintuple it, and then you get to the double-triple, which is the sextuple-jointed final telescoping word that we have before us now.
So is there any limit to these words?
I mean, Danielle, go for it. If you want to make a word that just is like the entire vocabulary that you have just shoved into one word, I would be impressed. I would love to see it.
I'm just wondering grammatically in German if there is a limit to how many words you can put together.
In German? No idea. You're asking the wrong person.
I'm sure some of our listeners may know.
I know. I mean, I know like the quote unquote longest word in English is like anti-disestablishmentarianism or whatever,
Right.
or something like that. Or maybe some scientific name for a molecule or something that goes on forever. But I would be delighted if one of our listeners could share with us the longest German word in existence, because I bet that word is awesome.
And I would also be curious if there's a limit to how many words you can put together to make one of these telescoping words.
Yeah.
Like
that would be
10, 7, 20? What's
I mean, you can make a portmanteau, I guess, of main words you want in English, too, as long as you can say
You
it.
can. I'm just curious if there's some kind of unspoken rule.
I don't know if there's like a hard limit. I'm sure there's a practical limit with like, how long does it take to say the word? Are you going to spend an hour trying to say this word?
Right. Just curious. I wonder what the longest one is that people actually use semi-regularly.
Okay, the longest common one?
Yeah.
You know what? We really need to get a German language person. Basically a German, someone who speaks German on our podcast to tell us all the things we don't know about the German language, because it sounds fascinating.
Yeah, that'd be ideal. If anybody speaks German and would like to talk to us.
Many people speak German, Danielle. The latter part, if they want to speak to us, is probably the harder sell.
I meant. That was really the pivoting point of that thought.
Well, so there you go. That's the first half of Michael Ende's The Night of Wishes, where an evil sorcerer and his aunt are going to make a potion of evil wishing to fulfill their evil quota, while a bird and a cat with no plan go out into the snow to try to foil them.
They're going to do it too. I have a good feeling about this.
Well, it is a book for children, so yes.
You know what? Some books for children are kind of depressing.
Well, again, this is Michael Ende. Remember, he did the whole Swamp of Sadness with Artax getting eaten by that and dying.
Oh, why would you bring that up? Come on now, Sam.
Because
nobody needed to be reminded that that was a thing.
It is much worse in the book, much more devastating. And my point is, he is not afraid of putting some grisly tragedy or some really kind of grotesque things in his books for children, because he doesn't pull punches.
Right. So who knows? Maybe this cat and raven duo will not make it out alive.
Well, they've already been poisoned by toxic waste, and Jacob Scribble, that's his full name. I didn't mention that, but
That's a great
why
name.
not?
Why not?
Great name. He is already very disheveled. He's losing feathers. He doesn't look very good. And as we mentioned, Mauricio, his voice was already ruined by poisoned fish, and he is super fat right now and not very elegant and kind of ragged.
I'm still not convinced that they're not going to turn into superheroes from this toxic waste. So,
well, you should be, because I'm telling you they will, because that's not how toxic waste works in this book or reality.
But it does in so many superheroes.
All they've gotten from the toxic waste, Danielle, so far is being very, very sick.
Well, hopefully the snow cures them.
Yes, because snow, which is water,
Magic
can
snow,
cure toxic
Sam.
waste poison.
At least get it off their skin. That's not like they've taken a shower yet.
It's not liquid toxic waste. It's like more solid. At least in the illustration, it was more solid toxic waste.
They're just what? How do are they on top of the toxic waste in the barrel?
Yeah, they're just lie on top of it's like imagine like toxic soil or something like that.
Okay, sure.
So it's like like a mound of toxic sludge, not like a barrel of liquid, kind of firm.
Okay. I don't know if that's what I was imagining, but okay.
Well, that's what it is, Danielle. It's
It is what
toxic
it
waste
is.
doesn't have to be liquid. You don't have. Not everything has to be like a cartoon barrel of green glowing slime. All right.
That's kind of where my brain went. Not gonna lie.
I know it did, but This book deals in the reality of pollution and the devastation of our world's environment. And that means that toxic waste is not always just cartoonish.
Yes,
and Captain Planet can't clean up with a snap of his fingers.
It's a shame, really.
It really is.
He's our hero. He's going to bring pollution down to 0, Sam.
All right. Nope. We're done. Any predictions besides superhero magic powers isn't going to happen for part 2?
Predictions. I think they're going to make it out alive into the snow.
Well, they've already done that because they opened the window and they came out. That's where we ended the book.
And you said there was an introduction of other characters, right?
It did. That was Tyrannia.
Oh.
She came in.
I was hoping there were other characters.
Maybe.
Well, let's just assume they're going to end up at the party, and they're going to have to do something at the party to try and stop them from all these wishes. I think the wishes are going to go right. I don't think they're going to finish their potions before 6 a.m.
Midnight.
I thought they started at midnight and had to finish at 6.
No, they have to finish before the first stroke of the New Year's bells
so
on
6
midnight.
6 p.m. to midnight.
Yeah.
Got it.
Well, I guess by the time we finish up the book, it's more like 7:30-ish.
Okay.
At least according to the clocks in the chapter titles.
Yeah. So there's stuff after 6, 7. What? Wait, what?
It's 7:30. I don't know what the problem is.
7:30 right now?
No, in the book, it's 7:30.
No, I know, but in the story right now, it's 7:30.
Yeah.
What time does everything? They're supposed to start between 6 and midnight, so they've lost an hour and a half.
Well, they've been arguing. Like the book started at 5 o'clock, so 2.5 hours of them arguing and getting things together. Like,
got it.
And here I have to ride.
Yeah, they're going to run out
that.
of time for sure. Just saying. And then none of their wishes, they're all going to like go back on them, and then they're going to not. That's how it's all going to end.
Well. To find out if Danielle is remotely correct, tune in next week to Book Retorts, The Night of Wishes, Part 2. Maybe we'll get to some actual wishes.
Maybe. I mean, I forgot this book was even about wishes till you brought it up again, so I'm not holding my breath.
I can't wait until your summary next week. If we can't even get to the character names, how are you going to remember any of this?
I might remember the plot better than I'll remember the names for sure.
So be sure to tune in next week to hear that, because I wouldn't want to miss it. If you want to contact us and tell us about German or answer any of our questions, you can get to us at bookretorts.com.
Or you can tweet at us, Instagram, Facebook us at Book Retorts.
So until next time, bye.
Take care, everybody. The rule is no babies. They know this. They're supposed to be male, and they're supposed to have no babies, and that is the rule for living in the bedroom.
That's a terrible rule. That's like you're like the church in the 16th century, Danielle.
I don't care. It is my bedroom. That is the rule.
Talk about like the patriarchy. Only men get to live inside. And if you have a baby, we banish you to the scarlet letter spider grave.
I don't care if they go and have sex as men, little spiders, but they can't have babies. That's the rule.
This is the worst thing I've ever heard in my life, Danielle.
And if